The night shift had settled into that uneasy quiet that never lasts. The emergency room breathed in fluorescent pulses, machines murmuring like half-awake guardians, the air thick with disinfectant, and the tired patience of people who had already seen too much. It was just past 11 p.m. when the radio crackled, its voice breaking through the stale air like a stone through glass. Male driver, mid-40s, single-car collision, found unresponsive at the scene. Suspected head trauma, chest injury, ETA 5 minutes. 5 minutes. Long enough to prepare a room, not long enough to prepare a life. Trauma Bay 3 woke up first. The overhead lights swung to full brightness, harsh and uncompromising. The monitor was turned on, its screen suddenly alive with green lines, waiting for a story to write. A nurse snapped open a trauma pack, the sterile wrappers sounding like thunder in miniature. Someone pulled the stretcher into position, locks clicking, rails down. Oxygen tubing was checked, suction primed. It was the same ritual we performed countless times, but routine never made it less sacred. The paramedics arrived with the urgency of people who had already lost the argument with time once tonight and weren't willing to lose again. The automatic doors jolted open, and the stretcher rolled in, wheels squealing against the polished floor. The man on it looked like he had been caught mid-sentence and never given the chance to finish. Blood stained his shirt in a spreading bloom over his left side. His face was smeared with grit and glass dust, one cheek already swelling into a dark promise of a bruise. "Name?" the attending asked. "Driver's license says Mark Turner, age 46, the paramedic replied. Lost control on a curve, hit a guardrail. Found alone in the car, unconscious. GCS 8, hypotensive en route. We started fluids, gave him oxygen. Chest sounds diminished on the left. Possible pneumothorax." The report hung in the air like smoke. We transferred him from the paramedic stretcher to the hospital bed in one practiced lift. His head lolled to one side, hair matted with sweat and blood. His eyelids fluttered once as if he were trying to see where his day had gone. I took my place at the monitor, fingers moving before my brain caught up. Leads attached, blood pressure cuff inflating with a mechanical sigh, pulse oximeter clipping onto a pale finger. The numbers came back refusing to comfort. Blood pressure low, oxygen saturation flirting with the border of not enough, heart rate rapid but thin, like footsteps running on hollow floors. "Mark, can you hear me?" the doctor called, leaning in close. No response. The paramedic handed over a plastic evidence bag with items recovered from the car. A wallet, keys bent slightly at the edges, and a phone with a spiderweb of cracks across the screen. I noticed it when the bag hit the counter. The phone screen lit up briefly, as if startled awake. A notification glowed against the fractured glass. One missed call. Emma, 10:58 p.m. The little red circle sat in the corner of the icon like a wound. I almost looked away. It wasn't my job to read the lives on people's screens, but sometimes the story in front of you doesn't start with blood and broken ribs. It starts with the name that appears when a phone lights up at the wrong time. "Chest is tight," someone said. Breath sounds absent on the left. "Possible tension pneumo," the attending answered. "Let's get a chest x-ray, but be ready to decompress." We cut away his shirt with trauma shears, fabric falling in jagged strips to the floor. Underneath, his chest rose unevenly, the left side sluggish, the right side overworking in compensation. A livid bruise spread from his sternum toward his ribs, skin blooming purple beneath the harsh lights. The kind of bruise that speaks of steering wheels in split seconds. The x-ray machine arrived with its usual graceless clatter. We slipped the board under him, his body heavy, limp. The tech lined up the beam, stepped back. "Deep breath," she said out of habit, then winced. He didn't answer. Couldn't. The machine hummed, capturing a picture he'd never see. When the image came up on the screen, It told a story none of us wanted to read. The left lung was partially collapsed, the mediastinum shifted, air trapped where it shouldn't be, pressing, squeezing, stealing space the heart needed to beat properly. "Yeah," the doctor said quietly. "We need to decompress. Now." He gave the order calmly, like he was asking for the salt at dinner, but his hands moved fast. A nurse pulled open the chest tube tray. Metal instruments gleamed under the surgical light. Clinical, merciful, cruel. We cleaned the skin, numbed where we could. Mark didn't flinch, not because he was brave, but because his consciousness was already standing in a doorway between this world and something else. I focused on his face while the doctor worked. His brow was furrowed, not with pain, but with the kind of concentration people wear when they're late for something important. A smear of dried blood clung to his jaw. A gold ring glittered faintly on his left hand, out of place among the plastic and tape. There was a sudden hiss when the needle found the trapped air, the sound of pressure releasing, like the room itself exhaling. His oxygen saturation ticked up a few points. The heart rate slowed, just a little. A small victory, not a promise. In the corner, the bag with his belongings slipped off the counter and hit the floor. The phone tumbled out, screen lighting up again from the impact. This time, it wasn't a missed call notification. It was a message banner popping up across the shattered glass. From EMMA. "Did you leave already? I'm waiting at the window. Don't forget our movie night." The words punched harder than any trauma. I bent to pick the phone up, hand hovering for a second longer than necessary. The phone vibrated again. Another message arrived. "Dad? Where are you?" I swallowed and put the phone back in the bag, screen turned downward. There are moments when the line between personal and professional blurs. This was one of them. I could feel the weight of that unseen girl at the other end of the signal, waiting at some window, watching for headlights that wouldn't come. "Fluids are in," another nurse said. BP responding a little. "Let's get him to CT," the doctor replied. "We need to see what his brain decided to do about this." We stabilized what we could stabilize. Oxygen, pressure, blood, lines, tubes, bandages, plastic over punctured skin. Numbers nudged away from danger, but still hovering too close. When we rolled him toward the elevator, the wheels clacked over the threshold with the solemnity of a verdict. I walked beside the stretcher, hand on the railing, feeling the slight vibrations of his labored breaths through the metal. The elevator doors closed with a mechanical sigh, trapping us in a mirrored box that reflected our faces back at us, distorted by fluorescent light. Mark looked small on the stretcher, the kind of small only adults become when they are no longer able to pretend they are invincible. The phone vibrated again inside the bag. The sound was muffled but unmistakable. I glanced at it. The screen lit through the plastic, showing the same name, the same red heart. Incoming call, EMMA. The elevator hummed, counting floors. No one moved to answer. We weren't family. We weren't authorized. We were strangers holding his life together by threads and tape, while someone who knew his laugh was sitting somewhere with a phone pressed to her ear, listening to a call ring into nobody. The call died with a final buzz. A red badge stayed on the icon. 2 missed calls. CT was a blur of white walls, humming machines, and the slow, precise cruelty of images that see more than we ever could on our own. We transferred him onto the narrow scanner table. His body looked even more fragile there, swallowed by plastic and metal. The machine slid him in, its circular mouth closing around him like a mechanical halo. While we waited, I found myself staring at the bag again, at the cracked screen, at the tiny heart emoji next to her name. Emma. Not Emma, school. Not Emma, neighbor. Just Emma. Enough to tell the truth, she was not just someone, she was everything. The images came back with the cold efficiency of bad news. Small bleed in the brain, not catastrophic but not kind. Bruising around the kidneys, fractured ribs. A body that had tried its best to protect the parts that mattered and had failed in places that could still be repaired. "We'll admit him to ICU," the doctor said. "Intubate if his breathing worsens. He needs time and support, and someone needs to reach his family." Someone, which meant us. We rolled him back to the ER bay temporarily, machines now accompanying him like an anxious entourage. I hung a new bag of fluids, adjusted the nasal cannula, watched his chest rise and fall with a rough rhythm. He moaned once, just a sound, no words. A fragment of a life upset mid-sentence. I picked up the bag again. The phone had stopped buzzing. The screen was dark. I hesitated, then turned to the charge nurse. "Do we have an emergency contact yet?" I asked. "Not yet," she said, flipping through the thin chart. "Only his name and address from the license. No spouse listed, no next of kin. You see anything in there?" I looked down at the phone. At the name. At the heart. "I think we do," I said quietly. She followed my gaze. Her expression softened, just for a second. "You can call her from the desk," she said. "Use the hospital line. Tell her who you are. Tell her he's here." I nodded, heart suddenly louder in my ears than any monitor. Back at the nurse's station, I dialed the number slowly, each digit feeling heavier than the last. The phone rang in my ear, an echo of the unanswered rings from his pocket. 1, 2, 3 times. On the fourth, a small, nervous voice answered. "Hello?" "Hi," I said, throat tighter than I expected. "Is this Emma?" "Yes," she replied cautiously. "My name is Rachel. I'm a nurse at St. Vincent's Hospital. I'm with your..." I looked through the glass at the man on the bed, chest wrapped, wires sprouting from his skin. "With your dad." There was a sharp inhale on the other end, a tremor in the silence. "Is he okay?" she whispered. I looked at the monitor, at the fourth, at the bandages. "He's alive," I said. "He was in a car accident, but we're taking care of him. He's stable for now. We're going to move him to the ICU so we can watch him very closely." I heard her swallow. Papers rustled somewhere near her. "He was supposed to be here," she said. "We have movie night on Fridays. He texted me he was on his way, and then he didn't come." My chest ached in a way that had nothing to do with medicine. "I know," I said gently. "He has his phone with him. We saw your messages." Silence again, then softly. "Can I see him?" "Yes," I said. "Do you have someone who can bring you?" "My mom," she answered. We're not together, but she'll come. She always does." "Okay. Tell her to come to the emergency entrance. We'll be waiting." After I hung up, I looked through the glass one more time at the man lying on the bed. A man who had probably checked his phone at a red light, smiled at a heart next to his daughter's name, and never imagined that a guardrail and a second of distraction could wedge themselves into the quiet tradition of a Friday movie. His phone, back in the bag now, held 2 missed calls and 1 unanswered text. The last call he didn't get to take was about something small. Popcorn, a movie, a window waiting. And yet that tiny moment, that ordinary ring in the dark, now sat at the center of everything that was about to happen. In the emergency room, we are trained to measure damage in millimeters and units and percentages. But as I stood there, listening to the monitor's beep and the vent's sigh, I could feel a different kind of damage counting itself in missed calls and unsent words. The last call he didn't answer wasn't from a telemarketer, it was from home. And now home was on its way to the ER, following the thin, trembling line between a ringing phone and a man who might not remember making any of this necessary. The ICU was quieter than the ER, but not softer. Machines breathed for those who could not. Alarms whispered warnings instead of shouting them, and the air felt heavier, as if grief and hope were hanging from the same fragile hook. We rolled Mark into room 212, his body still, his breaths uneven but present. The overhead lights cast a pale glow across his bandaged chest, turning him into something caught between a man and a memory. He didn't wake when we moved him. He didn't react when we adjusted the oxygen. His pulse, and the machine tracking it, stayed steady in that fragile way that means steady for now, not steady for good. 40 minutes later, the elevator dinged, and I knew before seeing her that she was the one who had made the last call. The doors opened, and a teenage girl stepped out, clutching her backpack straps with white-knuckled fists. She had messy brown hair pulled into a rushed ponytail, jeans that looked a little too worn, and a sweatshirt 2 sizes too big. Her eyes were red, not from crying, but from holding back everything that wanted to spill over. A woman followed behind her, late 30s, tired but strong. The mother, clearly, not angry, just afraid. "Hi," I said gently. "You must be Emma." The girl nodded once, abruptly, as if speaking would break something inside her. Her mother stepped forward. "I'm Julie," she said. "We came as fast as we could. Is he—" She couldn't finish the sentence. I motioned for them to follow. Every step down that hallway felt like a countdown. When we reached Mark's room, Emma froze at the doorway. Her breath caught, her body stiffened, and in that moment she looked both older and younger than her age, like a child forced to grow up too fast. Her father lay still, chest rising slowly under the oxygen mask, the monitor painting his heartbeat in neon green. The room hummed around him, indifferent and loyal. Emma whispered, "That's not... he doesn't..." She took a step back as if the sight physically pushed her. "Take your time," I said. But she didn't take time. She took pain. Quietly. Completely. She walked in. Her mother stayed behind for a moment, then followed, standing close but not interfering. Some distances between family members are too sacred to cross without permission. Emma reached the side of the bed and stared at her father's hand. Scraped, bruised, one knuckle cut, but still recognizably his. She lifted it gently, as if afraid he would crumble at her touch. "Dad," she whispered, her voice cracking like thin ice. I called you. I called you twice." Her hands shook. "You were supposed to come home." A single tear slid down her cheek, landing on his wrist. I stepped outside the room, giving them space, but stayed close enough to hear the rise and fall of raw truth, because the ER doesn't save people with medicine alone. Sometimes it's saved with words said too late, but needed anyway. Inside, Julie placed a hand on her daughter's shoulder. "He'll hear you," she whispered. "Talk to him." Emma nodded, wiping her eyes with the sleeve of her sweatshirt. She leaned close enough that her forehead nearly touched his. "We were supposed to watch the movie," she said softly. "You said you'd be there before the opening credits. I waited at the window. I saw every car go by." Her voice trembled. "I thought you forgot. Again." Her mother inhaled sharply. Guilt, memory, grief, all mixed into one breath. Outside, a nurse walked past, holding a stack of charts, giving me a knowing glance. ICU walls are thin when it comes to emotion. Then something happened. Mark's fingers twitched. Just barely. Just enough. Emma gasped, stepping closer. "Did you see that?" Her voice lit up with a fragile hope, bright as a match in a dark room. I stepped back in, checking the monitor. His pulse quickened slightly. Nothing dangerous, just responsive. His eyelids fluttered. "Talk to him," I said gently. "He's trying." Emma leaned in again, her voice steadier now. "I'm here, Dad. I'm right here. You didn't answer my call, but I'm here." He made a soft sound, a painful, low exhale, through the mask. His lips moved, forming a shape without sound. I lowered the mask for just a second. He murmured. Her name. Not the whole thing, but enough. Enough to say I know you. I hear you. I didn't forget. Emma broke. Not loudly. Not dramatically. Tears fell silently onto his arm as she held his hand with both of hers, her entire body bending toward him like a flower, leaning toward light. "I thought you didn't care," she whispered. He blinked. Slow. Strained. His mouth moved again. "Sorry." The word barely existed, but it was there. Her mother covered her mouth, trembling, then stepped closer to the bed. I adjusted the monitors, making sure his vitals stayed safe through the storm of emotion. "He'll need time," I said softly. "A lot of it. But he's here. He's fighting." Emma nodded, pressing her forehead against his arm. "I don't care about the movie," she whispered. "Just come home." He squeezed her hand, weak but intentional. A reconciliation built on one missed call and one miracle. As the room filled with the quiet music of machines, I felt the truth settle in the air. People don't break because of tragedy. They break because of silence. And sometimes they heal the moment someone finally answers.